Now let's take a look at the sample question that I've together just so that you are familiar with what is expected within the exam should you choose to eventually take the certification exam. So I'm going to go through this question, and then of course I'm going to go through the discussion with the answer. So you have a solid understanding of various concepts that may be covered within a particular question itself. So let's jump right in. This is our first question, which says a large enterprise belonging to the advertising industry handles a large number of real-time messages sourced from over 250 websites in real time. Okay, so notice the way you want to break this question down is into various keywords and pieces. Okay, it'll make your life a lot easier. So the first clue that we have is a large enterprise that's probably a media company, advertising company that has over 250 websites sending messages in real time through the AWS ecosystem, right? So this is the first clue. Second, moving on, processing latency must be kept low. So here's another clue. So given the scenario of these over 250 websites, right, sending messages in real time, the processing of those messages, real-time messages, must be kept low. Based on calculations, a 60 shard Amazon Kinesis stream is more than sufficient to handle the maximum data throughput, even with traffic spikes. So here's another keyword, right? So we know that Amazon Kinesis stream is more than sufficient to handle the maximum data throughput, even with high volume of traffic. Moving forward, the company also uses an Amazon Kinesis Client Library, KCL, application running on Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, or EC2, managed by an autoscaling group. Amazon CloudWatch indicates an average of 25% CPU and a modest level of network traffic across all running servers. So we know that there's not a whole lot going on with EC2. CloudWatch is saying the EC2 and the autoscaling groups are running about 25% CPU at a modest level of network traffic along all of the server fleets. Now, the company reports a 150 to 200% increase in latency of processing messages from Amazon Kinesis during peak times. There are no reports of delay from the sites publishing to Amazon Kinesis. What is the appropriate solution to address the latency? All right, so reading the question, breaking it down into different sentences, picking up keywords, thinking about the architecture behind the scenes, what is going on, we understand we have a nice scenario. So what they're saying essentially is that Amazon Kinesis up here is more than sufficient to handle the maximum data throughput. And here they're reporting increase in latency of processing messages from Kinesis during peak time. So we know that Kinesis is probably not the issue, right? Right off the bat, before even taking a look at the answer. All right, let's take a look at the 4 possible answers. First is increase the number of shards in the Amazon Kinesis stream to 80 for greater concurrency. Well, we know Kinesis is doing fine, right? So we don't need to increase the number of shards. Second, increase the size of Amazon EC2 instances to increase network throughput. So we understand that EC2s are also running fairly okay, and CloudWatch is letting us know that 25% CPU is modest level of network traffic across all running servers. So that's probably not the answer either, right? So A, we cross it out, B, we cross it out. Let's take a look at C. So increase the minimum number of instances in the autoscaling group. Well, autoscaling group is related to EC2, and since EC2 is not an issue at this point in time, we don't need to worry about autoscaling groups. And of course, the last option is increase the Amazon Dynamodb throughput on the checkpoint table. So this is sort of like the process of elimination. Now this may be easy at times, but only if you understand the entire scenario of what is going on within the entire question. So the best method is to simply break the question down into smaller pieces, right? Just like I mentioned earlier. Pick up those keywords, understand the architecture, visualize in your mind the architecture itself, and then kind of attempt the answers. And the answer will most likely pop out right at you, or at the least, you'll have the ability to choose, at least, choose two, right? So you can cross a couple of them right off the bat, and then you'll be left with the other two choices. And if you think a little carefully, you should be able to get the answer. Now let's take a look at the discussion as to why Amazon Dynamodb throughput on the checkpoint table, increasing this is the appropriate answer. This is going to address the latency issue. So let me scroll down a little bit. So let's take a look at throughput. So if your Amazon Kinesis Streams application receives a provisioned throughput exceptions, you should increase the provisioned throughput for the Dynamodb table. And this is primarily the answer itself. So the KCL, which is the library itself, creates the table with the provisioned throughput of 10 reads per second and 10 writes per second, but this might not be sufficient for your application. For example, if your Amazon Kinesis data stream application does frequent checkpointing and operating on a stream that is composed of many shards, you might need more throughput, right? So this kind of gives you a clue either that we need additional throughput. So, and we can take a look at information about provision throughput in DynamoDB. I'm going to provide the links. I'm also going to provide this particular document so you can kind of take a look at your own pace and own time. The application state data. So I've listed the DynamoDB table represents a shard that is being processed by the application. In addition to the shard ID, each row also includes the following data. So these are different parameters you can take a look at and go through. Here's the library overview, which is the Kinesis library. To begin, your application needs to create one or more KCL workers that pulls data from DynamoDB streams for your table. Apart from the reading stream data, KCL tracks worker state in progress in a DynamoDB table. They can create a list table, right? So this kind of diagram shows you the worker in action, how it works, the DynamoDB streams, and there's the KCL worker, and then within the list table, takes leads, syncs leads, renews, and then also checkpoint. So in this particular diagram, the KCL worker consumes shards in a DynamoDB stream and stores the state of processing in the leases table. And here are the sources. You can click on them or you can download the actual PDF, kind of read through it. So the bottom line for all of these questions on the exam that you will come across is for you to really take it easy, think, attempt these questions slowly. And if you don't know any of these questions, you can always mark them and come back to view them later, right? Once you finish the actual exam. So similar questions will occur. So there's a lot of reading, a lot of technical reading. I'm going to provide a bunch of resources for you to read. I'm going to also give you a sample exam towards the end of the course, so you're familiar with most of the domain items that are covered within our course itself. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, post in the discussion area. With this, let's move to the next lesson.